Hello and welcome, everyone. So glad to have you here, and so happy to be here with our friend and Art Toolkit ambassador, Lisa Spangler, for a live demo, Falling for Fall. Lisa, yay! Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Maria. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, well, I feel I should introduce you a little more for folks who haven't yet met you, but you've been such a part of our community for so long. You're an avid self-proclaimed color nerd, also love plants, exploring, and got into watercolor as a part of your recovery from, Lisa, was it six surgeries to repair your ACL?
Yeah, 6 surgeries. And I have a little story about that. I'll just share a little story
Okay,
later.
okay.
Yeah.
And now you have a van and have been adventuring as well. And you are like just home from, you told me you've gotten to Chase Fall, where you went from Texas all the way to visit family in Ohio, and have gotten to come down this whole corridor. And you've gotten color the whole way. So I'm just so excited to have you here to inspire us with your shapes and colors, and your wonderful enthusiasm for sharing watercolor. Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks so much, Maria. Yeah, I love fall. It's one of my favorite times of year. I always joke around and I say that orange is my favorite color. I have an orange tent, an orange camp chair. I drive an orange car. It's just, yeah, it's fall is just my favorite. Well, along
Oh,
with all the other seasons too.
so you mentioned you might have a little story about your recovery too, to share that with us.
Yeah, so I was hiking in Big Bend National Park to the South Rim, if anybody's familiar with Big Bend. It's depending on where you start, it's about a 14 hour hike. And 14-mile hike, sorry. And there's this relic population of big tooth maples
Mm.
that are in this canyon, and they're left over from the Ice Age. So it's like this really rare, like special place. And so I'm there like taking pictures of all these, like it was like glorious fall colors, like the big blue sky and all the oranges and reds. And I was like in my glory there taking all these pictures and not watching what I was doing. And I kind of fell off the side of this boulder and
Oh,
my knee popped out and my ankle twisted, and it was just horrible. And so
oh,
that was the start. So my kneecap never healed correctly from that. I've re-injured it again in Japan.
oh.
So I re-injured it again in a typhoon in Japan. All these stories. But so I got back in, like, after going through the 6 surgeries, and then when I got back into hiking, I was always looking for ways to take little breaks, because when you're first getting back into hiking or anything, like if it's your first time, climbing a mountain or something. So I'm always looking for little opportunities, like, oh, what can I do to take a break? So I started painting leaves, and I'll
Mm.
hold this little one
Oh,
up.
sweet.
So this was when I made it back to the spot where I injured my ankle. I in my knee, my whole like ACL. I painted this little big tooth maple leaf. So this is I keep this on my nightstand, like in a
Oh.
little like a little rail. It's like a little picture rail, and I keep it there all the time so that I remember this by. So if you're suffering from an injury, don't give up, just start painting.
Oh, Lisa, that is terrific inspiration. And I love with the fall and getting to return to your place. And I just feel like you've got such a positive attitude too, and persevering, and and I love that creativity is such a part of your journey. And
Yeah.
yeah.
If I wouldn't have gotten into watercolor, I don't know what I would have done, because it's just so great, and when you're sitting there and you're painting outside, and you hear the birds and the wind going through the leaves, and you just feel more connected and a part of a place than, you know, if you just take a little picture, oh, well, you took a picture. But if you sit down, like, even if something didn't come out, like, even if your sketch looks like, well, nobody will know what that is, it's fine because you were there and you were in the moment, and it's just the best. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that practice of attention, and yeah, we have such a shared passion for so many of us. And well, let us know what's in store for us today. I am looking at your desk, and maybe I'll pull up your desk, and
Yeah,
you can let us know what supplies you've got. And
yeah.
let's
So
see here.
I'm putting over on my desk.
Okay, I've got
So
your desk spotlit for us.
yeah, so I'm going to talk about painting leaves and like some strategies for painting leaves and color mixing, and especially the shadows. The shadows are what makes the leaf like really pop. And don't worry, like if you found a leaf that you want to paint, that's great. But don't worry, we can wing it. We can make just like a rough leaf, and I can show you all the same things with that. But here's one leaf that I did in Oklahoma recently.
Look at those colors. And I love the
Yes,
shadow that helps it pop off the page.
yeah. So the shadow is like what really does the trick. And here's another one. This one was from Arkansas. So hopefully y'all can see that. So the shadow is what really does the trick. And I have some sneaky little things about that too. So here's my palette that I'm going to be using. This is my folio palette, and we're going to have a follow-up blog post that has all the information about what's in my palette and what colors I'm using for mixing. So don't stress about trying to take notes or anything today. We've got you covered. But specifically, I wanted to talk about mixing orange, because you know, even though I said orange is my favorite color, I really struggled with mixing orange for the longest time. So let me just put a little header on here. Falling for Fall Demo with Maria. All right. And I love painting leaves in a sketchbook, as you probably saw from these, because you can start the sketch when you're out in nature, and you can take the little leaf with you if you're short on time and you don't get to finish it up. And it's a plant press, like, you know, you can put your leaf in here and you won't lose it and it won't get scrunched. So this is just a watercolor sketchbook. And I love this paper too, because the paint will really flow on here, and you can do some lifting, which is really great for leaves. But I wanted to start by talking about mixing orange. So we all learned
Oh, that's
back
really
in
pretty what's on your desk there.
oh, thanks, Maria. Thank you. So yeah, we all learned back in school that red, which we all now know the primary for red is like magenta, quinacridone rose, or it's more like, you know, magenta pink, not just like a true red. So this is like the standard basic primary color wheel. And we all learned that yellow plus red equals orange. But if you look at these oranges here, they're all kind of like dull, and you know, they're kind of boring. They're not just like a vibrant, beautiful orange like you would see when you're looking up at the trees in the fall. So I learned the secret for that, and I wanted to share it with all of you. So the secret is you need to have a warm red and a warm yellow. So my favorite warm red is quinacridone coral. This is pigment red. Let me get it over here. Yes. So this is quinacridone coral, and this one's by Daniel Smith. But just check your pigment number. So if you look really small on the side of the label, you'll see the pigment numbers on there. And this is PR209. So I'll do a little swatch of the quinacridone coral. And I also love this for flowers and sunsets and all kinds of things. It's one of my all-time favorite colors.
Yeah, that's like a little more orangey than just a touch more orangey than the quinacridone rose, but you still get
Yeah,
a little
so there's
magenta-ish.
quin coral, and I'll put a little bit of it out here too. And I'll put the quin coral, or actually let's put some magenta here just so you can compare, because magenta is even bluer. So here's magenta, just so you can see the difference between the two of them. So look for any warm red that you have on your palette. And here's some more examples of different ones. So there's quinacridone coral. Pyrrole Scarlet is PR 255, and that's what comes in the Daniel Smith Essentials set that they have. There's also Pyrrole Red, which is really nice. And Organic Vermilion is one of my favorites for painting in the desert because it's more opaque. So there's some warm reds. So once again, this one is Quin Coral.
After hanging out with you, Lisa, I always want to go modify little parts of my palette. I think in mine, I've got some Perylene red and some cadmium red medium, and then I think Quin Rose and Deep Scarlet. But maybe I'll do a little, and a little Permanent Alizarin Crimson. I'll do a little rearranging after this.
Yeah, you might just want to.
Yeah. And I feel like you should also show people a bit about how you fill your palette, because you are one of the first people who had this idea of pan filling technique. Can you share a little bit about what you do?
Yeah. So if you notice in my pans, I try to only fill them halfway with paint. So I'm not always successful. Like this is in Danthron Blue, and you can see this one I got pretty well with halfway, but the cerulean blue kind of got away from me, and it just went everywhere. Like a bunch came out. Or this is quinacridone gold, and I like to put it halfway because when I'm out in the desert, when it's a really dry climate, and I like to be able to work my paint without having to take up too much mixing room in the top of the palette. So I'll just get some paint like this, and in that extra space where I didn't fill the paint the whole way, I'll just work the paint around in there, just like that.
Oh, that's such a good tip. And then hang on too, because I see two yellows. Are those the same yellow in the upper left?
Yeah, so this is the same yellow, and this is a trick. I can't remember who I learned this from. I think it was in one of the Art Toolkit live demos. But I like to have two of the same yellow, and then I use one just as my pure yellow and the other one for mixing green. And that way, you keep one that's kind of, it's mostly clean. I'm not always the best at keeping my palette clean. But yeah, so this one will be mostly clean, and this one will be the one that I get all grungy and mixed up for mixing green.
And then after this demo, if you might not mind sending us a little list of your colors, we can post it in the description, because I'm sure many folks are curious. And I'll just mention too, for everyone joining us live, I'm keeping an eye on the chat. So if you've got any questions that you want me to relay to Lisa, pop them in there and I'll do my best to get to them.
Okay, great. Yeah. So back to the warm red and the warm yellow. So here you can see the Quin Coral, especially when I put the yellow here next to it. You can tell this actually has a little bit of yellow in it. Whereas the Quin Rose / magenta, it leans more toward the bluish side. So it's more of a cool color. And the Azo yellow, people think of this one, or you could use Hansa yellow medium if you don't have the Azo. They're both they're just kind of solid, middle of the road yellows, which is great because they're not really that warm or that cool. So let me just show you the difference between mixing with a warm red. Whoops, I just put the wrong one. So here's the Quin Coral, which is the warm red. And so bring some of that out. Let's see, what can I do? I'll move this over here. How about if I put this over here so you'll be able to see it? Yeah, so that should be on the screen, right?
That looks great, Lisa. Thank you.
Okay, great. So this is just the Quin Coral right here. And then let me clean this one off because I got some, sorry, so this is just Quin Coral right here. And I'm going to put some of that azo yellow right here. And then I'm going to mix it with the quin coral, and look at this beautiful orange. And one thing for mixing that I like to do, I don't dip my brush back in the water. I just go right in with the paint, and that way you don't dilute your colors. So here is even darker.
Oh, I love your little, then you can make progressively darker.
Yeah, so it's like getting more and more orange as you go. So look how beautiful that is. And then I'm going to do this, the thing I said I wasn't going to do, but I'm going to dip that in there and lean it back towards yellow some more. So those are really, really vibrant. So this is the quin coral, which is the warm red.
Oh, and we've got a question about your fountain pen, of what you're using there for your notes.
Yeah, so this is the Pilot Kakuno, if you can see that.
Yeah, and we carry those on our website. We love that cute little pen.
Yeah, and I love this one because it's clear. So you can kind of monitor how much ink you have left in there. And I have the pen converter. So I have this loaded with, I think this is the document ink, the blue gray. I think that's what's in here now. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Lisa.
Yeah. So just over here to the side, I'll show you. So this is the same azo yellow again. And I'm going to show you mixed with the quinacridone rose or magenta.
And we've got a question too, if you know off the top of your head, the pigment number for azo yellow.
Yes, it is PY 151.
And you know you love color when you start internalizing the pigment numbers.
Yeah. So here's this one again. So it's just not as vibrant, and you'll really see this after this dries. As you know, like watercolor, as it's drying, it has like a drying shift a little bit. So here's one that's already dry, so you can see. So this is the quin coral and the azo yellow. And then here's those really vibrant oranges. And this is on Canson Montval paper that Maria told me about. It's like really good student grade paper. And then here we go with that little color wheel. Let me see if I can get both of these on the same screen. And so this is the magenta or quin rose with the azo yellow once again. And you can see they're just not as vibrant. Here, I'm going to put these two so that they to each other. So after it dries, you can see it's really, it's just not that exciting. It's not a like vibrant orange, whereas this one made with the quin coral is like awesome. So that's the orange that I'm going to be using. So just look for it, what's in your palette that's a warm red, and like a medium yellow, or just, you know, not a cool yellow. So Hansa yellow light, that one leans more towards green. So, and as you know from the color wheel, the opposite of pink is the green, so that'll neutralize it. So you don't want that Hansa yellow light in your mix either, because then you still won't get a very good orange. You want like a nice bright fall orange.
Get those leaves to pop.
Yeah, get the leaves to pop. So let me clean this off really quick, and I wanted to talk about the shadow colors. And I might even, let me grab this. So many palettes in so little time. So this is something new that I thought of doing just the other day, because I'm always mixing this color. So my favorite shadow color, if you don't have a spot on your palette, so this one, you know, I just have my mixing space here, and I try to keep it pretty clean. So this palette, I don't have a good palette gray on here. Maria is the one who I first learned about the palette gray. So just whatever colors are left on your palette, you can just kind of smudge them all together, and then you have palette gray.
Yeah, they make something interesting usually.
Yeah, it's like it'll make something good. So then I just had this idea just the other day. I actually had a dream about it. Like, do you ever dream about art supplies or like an idea, and then you have to like
Yes,
try
I
it out?
do. Oh, and you've got an older palette there, an early vintage.
Yeah, this is an old one. But this is one of the new mixing pans. Here, I'll take this out so you
Yeah.
can see this. But I put a little blob of ultramarine blue, and then I put a blob of transparent red oxide, or you could use burnt sienna, but I really like transparent red oxide. It's like, it's so cool.
It granulates really well.
Yeah, that's what I really love about it. But then you can just like run your brush back and forth here, and then you can see the gray starting to happen.
Oh,
And
that's
if
such a great idea to put them in the same pan, Lisa.
it's a little pan, I'm like, I'm so
What a
excited
simple,
about
good
it.
idea. I've never thought of that.
Right? I just like, I'm telling you, I had a dream about this. And then if you want, like, if you want your shadow color, your gray color to be more blue, you just pull it in a little bit more from the ultramarine. And then if you want it to be more towards the brown, you can just pull in some more transparent red oxide, and you can just keep going back and forth. So I'm going to set up like a whole mixing palette, and I'm going to do, one of the pans is going to be just like this. And I can't wait for that, because then I'll have a gray. But then I have to decide, like, okay, which one of these colors am I going to like give up so that I can put this here? That's going to be the hardest part. But yeah, so once again, this is ultramarine blue. So there's ultramarine blue. I'll get some out of there. And it's a really granulating color just on its own. Love that color. And then the transparent red oxide is this one over here. And watch this when it just like kind of goes wild, especially if you put a little bit of extra water and touch this on. It's just like, whoa, look at that. And
Lisa,
then
what's the brush you're using too, or curious?
so this is also one of the ones that you all carry. So this is, let's see, R13 size 8 blend.
Oh, that's a beautiful one.
And this is just something that I printed this out on just a piece of copy paper, and then I used packing tape to put it on because I don't have a label maker yet.
I'm hooked on my label maker, but that's a great idea.
Yeah, so that's just put on there. But yeah, I love this brush. It really handles really well, and you get yeah, I love this brush, and it has such a good point on it too. So look at all of these awesome like shadowy gray colors, and you can also use this mix just for a straight up brown. So instead of using like a sepia or Van Dyke brown, or one of those other ones,
Can you move
just...
your sketchbook up just a tad?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, look at your swatches.
Thanks, Maria. Thank you so much. Yeah, but look at that. So that's a really dark brown. So I do have Van Dyke brown on my palette, and sometimes I have sepia on my palette, but you don't have to. You can just mix it right up there.
And so I have a question, or kind of a comment too, and I wonder if you might be willing to share some of your opinions about this, of granulating colors, because there's not a right or wrong with them, but some of the preference. And maybe you'd speak a little bit of some of your love for the transparent red oxide.
Yeah, so I first started using transparent red oxide just because the burnt sienna dried too hard in the pan for me. So I spend a lot of time in dry climates, and some of my paints would dry hard as a rock. And the transparent red oxide, I think they must add a little something to it to make it flow better. I mean, I don't know for sure, but it definitely re-wets. Like, I can just touch my brush here on the transparent red oxide, and it just picks up color. Whereas the burnt sienna, I would have to, mist the color first and then wait like a few minutes for it to like reactivate. And I am one of those impatient people. Like, I just like to jump right in and start start coloring. And as a bonus, the transparent red oxide is a lot more granulating, and it moves around, and we'll see that a little bit more when we paint the leaf. And it's funny that you mentioned granulating colors, because I was going to talk about one of my favorites.
Oh, I know that one.
Before I do that, let me finish up with this. So here is just a basic gray that's mixed with the transparent red oxide and the ultramarine blue. So this is just like your basic gray, and I'll show you one of my my tricks. So back to the color wheel again. So here is purple. Let me put this back down. So purple is the complementary color to yellow, because they're across from each other on the color wheel. So here's a big secret. If you have a yellow leaf, when you make your shadow color, kind of lean it towards purple a little bit, and then that'll really make it pop. So here's my basic. Here I have a puddle of basic gray mixed up here with the ultramarine blue and the transparent red oxide. And I'm going to add just a little tinge of the quinacridone rose, and see how it looks just a little bit purple there.
Oh, I love those dusty purples.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still kind of believable, right? Like, it's not in your face purple. And when you put that next to the yellow, it really, really makes it pop. Look at how much brighter the yellow looks when you put the purple next to it.
Oh, and Lisa, we've got one other comment of ultramarine compared to French ultramarine. And if I remember correctly from Jane Blundell in a demo once, and what I've read, it's actual like pigment size, like the actual like tiny little grains. And
yeah,
if you recall the details, I think French ultramarine might be larger.
Yeah, so I think the French is larger, and it's also the bigger pigment particles make it seem warmer. So if you're looking to mix a really good purple, French ultramarine and Quin Rose is like your friend. That's what you want. So this is gray. So there's those two color, and then so here, this was my trick here. Oh, and look at this, the granulation is starting to show. I hope you all can kind of see.
That's a little easier when you hold it up close.
Yeah. So this is for the yellow leaves. And if you have an orange leaf, which is, that's my favorite, then you can lean your shadow a little bit towards blue, because the blue is the complementary color for the orange. So I hope that all makes sense. And then I almost ran out of room. I wanted to show you all. I don't buy too many of the fancy colors. I'm mostly, just kind of the straight up, primary pigments kind of girl. But I have to mention Piemontite Genuine by Daniel Smith. I started using this color in the desert for volcanic mountains and rocks, just because it adds like this little bit of texture. Like, you can see all that granulation there. And this one actually, where'd it go? Can also mix with the Quin Rose and the coral, or like a yellow ochre. And this just like adds to your leaf. So here's a leaf here. So see how the leaf has all these little, I don't know what you want to call them, freckles in the leaf.
Little tiny dot. Yeah, freckles is a good word for it.
Yeah, so if you just use like a Piemontite Genuine, which has like all this granulation in there, it'll really kind of give that texture to your leaf, and really make it shine. So here, let me do one swatch of the Piemontite Genuine. So if ever you're looking at my sketches, I like have abbreviations for the colors, and I always like Piemontite, because I just label it pie.
And then you get hungry.
Who doesn't like pie?
Oh, it's beautiful. Will you hold that up as it dries so we can see some of the granulation settling? Oh, I personally love granulation, Lisa.
Yeah, and then so here's another trick with granulation. So my load in my brush, let me get my water jar here. So I loaded my brush with just plain water, and then I tap it off to the side like this. And then I'm just going to come in here and touch that. And that'll really like make the color start flowing, and like the heavier pigment particles will settle out. So let me hold that up there, and I'll move this out of the way. So hopefully you all can see that. Yeah.
Oh,
All
beautiful.
right. So this should be enough then, where we can start painting our leaf. I have a zillion leaves here, but I thought I would just do like a basic oval leaf. Let me find. Oh, I lost my leaf. I was going to show you. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. Ha. So I'm just going to do a basic oval leaf. So you can
those textures and colors in that
right,
basic oval leaf, though. There's nothing basic about that, Lisa.
Well, that's the fun of leaves. So let's see, 2:30. So we still have half hour left. Okay, good. Let me put this over there. So here's one of my tricks too. If you find a leaf and you think it's really cool, take a picture of it. Because look at how it dried out. But you can bring the leaf home in your sketchbook, like press it between the pages, but always take a picture of it so you have it for reference. So I just want to hold this up so you all can see. But these are like all the opportunities where painting leaves really helps you with learning watercolor. I mean, look at this. This is like, oh wow, that touched it. So there's all this granulation in here. And then here we can practice like wet on wet, like just dropping in some quinacridone coral in over here. And leaves kind of have this like built-in, they have like all the veins that break things up. So look, the vein down the middle has marked like this color over here, and then you've got some more color over here, and you can do some negative painting over here where you paint around. But anyway, it's just so much fun. So I'll tell you another secret too. So when I first started sketching leaves, I would hold the leaf in one hand and I would try to, freehand draw the leaf. I don't know what I was thinking, because if you have a leaf with you, you can feel free to go ahead and just trace it. So it makes it really nice. You can just trace your leaf. And
That's
it's
not
like
cheating.
it's
There's
not
no
cheating.
cheating.
It's like low stress. And then
Yeah.
but if you don't have a leaf, just draw like a basic oval shape, and you can still follow along with this. Or if to our southern hemisphere friends, where you're all in spring, right? It's like the leaves are all green. So this way you all can follow along too.
Lisa, can you remind us of what paper you're working in your sketchbook?
Yeah, so I always say it wrong. So this is just a Hanamula. Hanamula. Yes.
Yes, we love them.
Hanamula sketchbook. It's just the watercolor book. I don't have it anymore. I had the paper in here, but it's just the basic one. It's not the 100% cotton one. I like those too, but this one's just your basic one.
Yeah, I've been using it for my everyday kind of sketchbooks and such, and I really like it. You can get away with a surprising number of like watercolor washes, despite how lightweight it is.
You really, really can.
And Lisa, do you know what leaf that is? What kind?
I was hoping somebody out there might know. I found this leaf. So I'm a prairie person. I actually do work for a prairie conservation group here in Texas. And trees are the enemy of prairies. Like you want to get rid of the trees because they'll shade out the prairie. So I'm really bad at IDing trees, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to start painting leaves. So I think I'm not sure if anyone out there can put it in the chat if they know what kind of leaf it is. That'd be great. I saw a lot of dogwoods there, So I'm kind of thinking it might be a dogwood leaf, but I don't know for sure.
Oh, we've got one guess that might look a little like a cherry, but yeah.
Oh,
Interesting.
that's one thing I wanted to mention. Okay, yeah, so cherries. But first, okay, so let's just draw our leaf first. So much to share, right? So do the oval, and then I always do the mid vein first. So do your mid vein, and then this leaf, it's kind of hard to see the other veins that are in the leaf. So just turn it over. And one of the things with IGing leaves is look and see if the veins are like kind of alternate each other or if they're opposite each
Oh,
other.
oh, good tip.
Yeah, and when you're drawing this, you don't have to draw every single vein that's in your leaf. So just put a few, and then if you want to, like where this brown area is over here, just kind of like put a little mark there. And then here where it's like been chewed up and like draw those little circles. But you can just, you know, just kind of make, if you don't have a leaf, just kind of make it up for yourself. So I'm just going to put a few more veins just like that. And if I'm doing a yellow leaf, I'll get my kneaded eraser. I won't do it here, or you won't be able to see this because it's already pretty light. But one of my secrets is if I'm doing a yellow leaf, I'll go with my kneaded eraser and erase the lines. Because otherwise it'll show through and kind of distract from the colors. So that's a little tip for you there. So let me see, how should I do this? I wonder if I move this over here, and I'm trying to fit everything on the screen at once. So maybe put the leaf like there, and then I can put the paints over there. There we go. Is everything
Looks good, Lisa. Yeah.
okay? Good. So we're not going to follow this exactly because you know it's kind of dried, and I wanted to really show you all some like fun tips. And so just got that all cleaned off. And let's see where I have to use my brush. There it is. So
Oh, and just to share, Lisa, we've got some other guesses of what your leaf is, like possibly a black gum, part of a Tupelo family. So after our demo, you can do a little Googling.
there were Tupelo trees there too. So yeah, once again, here was how vibrant. It might be a Tupelo. I bet you it is a Tupelo tree. So here's how vibrant it was. So we're just going to have fun, and we're just going to use this just as a rough guide. And before I forget, I wanted to give you all one more tip. So this is a maple leaf, and see how it has these little serrations that are coming off the side. If you were painting a maple leaf, I wouldn't go and trace around all of these little serrated edges. I'll show you like how you can do that just with your brush. So, all right, so let's mix up a nice juicy puddle of orange, and we're using this is the Azo yellow. And so right now my brush is all loaded with the yellow, and I'm just going to go right in to my quinacridone coral, and I just dive right in there, and that way I don't keep getting water all over my palette, because that's one thing I've learned from painting in the desert. If you get a lot of water in your paints, it can make your paints really runny when it's hot, and then you just kind of have a mess on your hands. So here's a really good puddle of orange, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint around this part here that's the brown, and I'm just going to go for all of this part here that's all orange all at once, and I'm going to kind of vary the color as I go too. So with a nice juicy puddle, just go in and paint your orange. And I'm using that mid vein as a guide. So just painting that in there. And you want to kind of be kind of quick about this. I have this little hole right here. So I'm going to paint around that hole, because there's so many fun things that you can do while the paint is still wet. And this is where, so if your leaf is one of those ones like the maple, or here's a sweet gum, where it has all these little tiny serrations along the edge, just take your brush, and while the paint is still wet, you can just kind of pull out little bits of color. I mean, sorry, little bits of the serrated leaves, like just like that. So this is totally going to be, this isn't correct with Mother Nature here. This is going to be just a fun leaf. All right, so there's a big bunch of orange. And now, while this is still wet, where these parts were here, I'm going to get some quinacridone coral. And this is a pretty thick mix of the coral, so it hardly has any water on the brush. And then I'm just going to tap these in like that. And if you have, see here, there was a lot of it. This was really juicy right here. So when I tap it in, it just kind of goes everywhere. But that's okay, because there's leaves like that anyhow.
Oh, and it's so nice and vibrant too, those colors you're getting.
Yeah, it's really, really good. So you don't want to overdo this, or, it could look like freckles or something. What was that Coco Chanel always said? Put your jewelry on and then take one piece off.
I didn't expect to be hearing quotes from Coco Chanel today.
Yeah. So now if I touch this part over here, it's really going to blend and bleed. So that's like, one of the things that you can learn about watercolor by painting leaves. But it does have the mid vein here does have like all these little doodads over there. So I'm just going to go for it. And so this is the Piemontite Genuine here. And I like to, when I get to the stem, I like to pull the color out of the main part of the leaf. And then it just doesn't look like, it's like stuck on there. And sometimes when you look at the stems, they're like really cool. Like, where did that sweet gum? So the sweet gum leaf, it's got some orange and like magenta right in the stem too. So look at your stem, and they're not always just brown. Like you can make some really fun watercolor effects with that too. So let's see, we'll put more. Let's go for some raw sienna up in here. And I always vacillate back and forth between raw sienna and yellow ochre. do you
Me too. They both have a space in my palette, only for exactly the reasons you're about to share, Lisa. You and I have like agonized over the phone, haven't we, before on what should I take on my trip? Well, I'll let you share with everyone.
I know, right? So this palette actually has both, because I couldn't decide what to bring. I was like, what should I do? What should I do? I'm going to be gone because, we drove from Ohio all the way. From Texas up to Ohio and back. And I'm like, well, I don't know which one I want to bring. So I just brought both.
So just for everyone listening, yellow ochre is more opaque than raw sienna, which is more transparent. But they're pretty similar. Like they're just a little, their hue. So depending on what you're painting, one can be more useful than the other for certain preferences of effects.
Yeah. All right, so this is that Piemontite Genuine again over here. I'm just going to put that there. And then I'm going to get my little handy dandy mixing pan. This is like, I'm so excited about this. I can't wait to try this out in the field. So I'm going to mix up like a really dark brown. This is with that ultramarine blue and the transparent red oxide once again, or, you could use burnt sienna if you don't have transparent red oxide. So that is a really, really dark brown right there. And it doesn't have very much water. So there's not very much water in here. You can see it's pretty thick. And then around this part that got chewed up, I'm just going to tap this color right in here and really make that pop. And then there were some darker bits like over here. And this part is already drying. I was hoping that the paint would wouldn't dry as fast today, but it is drying fast. So better move a little faster there. Put a little bit there. So let's see, where else can we put this? Put a little bit of a vein there. And you just kind of have fun with it. So this is like kind of chewed up around there. So put a little bit of this dark color there. And this is already dry. So the colors aren't blending and fading.
Hey, so we've had a couple of comments about some folks keeping like wax paper in their sketchbook to help with wet pages or pressing plants, and then also wondering about using parchment paper. Is that anything you have experience with?
I try to remember to bring some, but I usually don't. But it does really help. Like you can, if your veins are a lighter color than your leaf, you can kind of paint like a light layer, like paint the whole thing yellow, and then go over it after it's dry, go over it with the resist to try to like make a resist. I can't talk. But yeah, so this is drying already, so I can put in some of those. So but this really helps you, like painting leaves, you learn so much about watercolors. So here we did, you know, wet on wet and dropping in color. And then once this dries, we can do some wet on dry. Let me mix up a little bit of a darker brown.
Yeah, I love how abstract leaves are. They get to be, you know, such kind of a playground of color and texture, but then they're also this object right in front of us.
Yeah. All right, so let's see. And see how this vein right here, I got this a little bit thick and I don't like it. It should be like not as obvious. So all I'm doing is I'm taking a damp brush. So I wet my brush and then I'm just like kind of tapping the brush off on just this rag. And then you can kind of go over here and kind of smudge it out.
I like the term thirsty brush for that. It's thirsty, it'll
Yeah.
suck up.
Yeah, exactly. Let me drop in some more. See, everything's drying here. This morning, we actually had fog in Austin. I was like so excited because I was thinking, you know, oh, now my leaf will take a little bit longer to dry. But nope, now the sun's out. All right, so let's see. So I'm going to stop here. And wait for everything to dry, and then I can go back and add some more. Let's put a little bit more. I say I'm going to stop, and then I keep going. But so while this is kind of drying, so this side over here, let's see, where can I move this? Should be able to have yeah, it's still a little bit wet over there. But I want to try to show you all the shadow. Let's see, can we see the shadow? I got my headlamp.
To shine through.
Yeah. So let's see. This is still kind of wet. Let's see, what time is it? Oh, we only have like 10 minutes left.
Oh my gosh, time flies with you, Lisa.
I know, it goes by so fast. So I wanted to show you guys, I'm just going to go for it anyway. But I wanted to show you, so when you have a pressed leaf, I don't have any fresh leaves here because like, you know, like I said, Austin leaves are boring. They're just green right now. But in order to do the shadow, like if this leaf was fresh, it would have, or you know, you could see the petiole shining out. Like, can you see the shadow right here? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my kneaded eraser, and this is good too if you have a pressed leaf, like a leaf that is dry. But I'm just going to get my kneaded eraser and set it there just so I can give this a little bit of like lift. So I can try to get a shadow out of it.
What a clever idea, Lisa.
Thanks. Like I said, the shadow is what totally makes it. And since
That's clever, you're getting a real shadow. It just blew my mind.
I hope you can see it. And then, so I'm going to mix my shadow color with the ultramarine blue and the transparent red oxide. And like I said, since this leaf is orange, we're going to lean the shadow more towards blue, and then it will really make it pop. So here's the blue, and we can kind of test it over here. Maybe I need a little bit more blue in there. I'll put it off to the side. Oops, I had it out of the frame. So yeah, I'll put a little bit more blue. Yeah, there we go. And I'm gonna add a little bit more water, because sometimes you have really strong shadows, like if you're in the bright sun. But other times your shadows are more subtle. And then let's see if I can, so I have my headlamp here.
Well, look at you.
I don't know if this is going to, let's see if that helps with the shadow or not.
We're seeing some,
Can you all see the shadow?
Yeah.
And one thing I like to do too, I like to turn my sketchbook and see where the shadow is the most interesting.
Yeah, you're blowing minds here with your ground truthing of your shadows.
Yeah, so I mean, when the leaf is falling and when the leaf lands, it could be any orientation. So make your shadow look really cool. So let's see, that looks kind of good there. Can you see the shadow on the screen, Maria?
It's pretty subtle, but I can see it. Yeah, especially after you paint it.
So maybe if I outline it a little bit. So it's like coming over here, and then we're going like over here. Let's see. And then when it comes to this section, it's kind of close, and then the stem is over here. Oh, and see how that was wet? So it's like pulling in some of the color. I love it when that happens. I think it makes it look more realistic, because when you look at your shadow, there will be like some of the color of the leaf reflected in the shadow itself. And I just love it when they kind of blend together like that. Oh yeah, so that's looking good. Maybe I'll pull this down a little bit further. Yeah. Move this out of the way. I'll move the kneaded eraser back out of the way. So doesn't that just like make it pop? Here, let me turn it.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's beautiful.
And then where did I put there it is. Usually closest to your object or closest to your leaf, the shadow color is the darkest. So I'm going to go back in here and kind of tap in a little bit more dark color in there, and then kind of merge them together. And then once this dries, this is where the granulation will come into play. And then once again, since I added these serrations, like for the serrated leaf, I'm going to kind of pull out some color here. Like there were pull out some of the paint there to kind of make the serrations on the
Lisa,
shadow.
we're getting a request that we might have to revisit leaves with you in the spring, but look at spring greens to hear another.
That would be totally fun. That would be so much fun. All right. So now we'll just let this dry. That's one of the other things I've learned from painting leaves. Like, don't keep fussing over this. Just let it, we'll let this dry. And I can take a picture when this is all finished and send it to you, Maria. So you can
perfect. And oh my goodness, yeah, I can't believe how the time's flown. Lisa, why not, as you finish this up, will you tell us some of the cool ways we can stay in touch with you? Because you've got some new projects going on, and you're always up to interesting things.
Yeah, so I started a Substack, And for those who don't know, it's like kind of like a newsletter slash blog. Um, and I'm going to be posting my art adventures on there, and um, uh, just things from life on the road in our camper van. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So right now, everything is totally free. So I have it all turned off just because you know, I haven't really found the flow yet. So I just wanted to invite everybody to come join me for travels and painting and watercolor nerding and geeking out over colors. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Oh, well, I know I just received, I think it may have been your first newsletter this week, and just love seeing your colorful and encouraging and enthusiastic projects. And you have an infectious enthusiasm, Lisa, that one of these days we'll paint in person together.
I can't wait until we can paint in person together. It's going to be so much fun.
And we'll make sure, I think it may already be in the description, but I'll take a look after our demo where we'll have the recording available at this same link, and we'll make sure we've got links to Lisa's Substack. And if you check our description right now, should have her Instagram and website too. Boy, Lisa, we've got just a couple more little questions as we wrap up. And Carla's interested, do you ever outline a little in ink?
Sometimes I do. I don't have those sketchbooks here. It just depends on the sketchbook. I'm one of those people, I have multiple sketchbooks going at the same time. So I have a sketchbook where I'm leaning more into ink. And that one I do outline it in ink. Like I have some leaves where I've outlined in ink. And you know, some of them I like to be more where it's just like the colors. I think when you add ink, your eye is like naturally drawn to the inking. So it just depends on which sketchbook it's in.
Well, and I just want to tell folks too that we'll also be sure to share a mention to a holiday card making tutorial that Lisa did with us last year. That was so fun. And gosh, Lisa, just I want to thank you all. Thank you so much, and everyone who's joined us today. Want to thank you for being here and part of our community, and hope you stay in touch with us here at Art Toolkit and follow Lisa on all her amazing projects. Here, Lisa, I'll just pull us up to give a little wave goodbye here.
Okay, yeah, let me I'll move my camera out of the way. And the sun is starting, like I said, the sun is starting to show in here. Let me there. If I move this so that maybe there.
Wonderful. Well, everyone, how about a wonderful rest of your day? And Lisa, always a treat. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Maria. Bye, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us.
Bye.
Yeah.
Just flew.